Hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you are. I am DLZ 101, and with me is Cheeto with his fucked up haircut and Zamario with his Santa looking beard thingy madingy. And we are here to review The Last of Us Episode 5 Endure and Survive. Well, boys, what'd you guys think of the episode? Cheeto, I'll start with you. Your likes, dislikes, what'd you think of it?
This is the five-star episode. I know I did 6, but dude, this episode, honestly, I really feel like this episode is a massive contender for 3. I still feel like 3 was better, but like in a television sense, episode 3 is better. In a Last of Us sense, episode 5 is like holy
Peak.
shit.
Yeah, this was.
Yeah, this whole thing was just the craziness. I mean, you got everything in it. You got the shitty humans, you got the zombies, you got all the post-apocalyptic, you got the tension, you've got the fucked up like people dying. Like, oh god, you got zombies.
You got everything in this episode.
This is probably what I would say the perfect episode of Last of Us. I'm not going to sit here and say it's like the perfect episode of television, or even I think it's like the best episode I've ever seen. But
for video game adaptation, this is the best you've ever seen.
Oh, absolutely. And, yeah, and for the series Last of Us, from everything we've seen leading up episode 1 to 4, episode 5 is definitely peak Last of Us.
Zam?
Yeah, excellent episode. I said last week that episode 4 was set up. Today we got the execution, and what an execution it was. Absolutely fantastic. I had moments of levity, moments of comedy, moments of horror, moments of tragedy. All of it was in this episode, done perfectly well. The combination of all of these things. And yeah, I would like to talk about it more in detail as we go along, but great episode nevertheless.
Yep. Yeah, I thought
really good. I mean, sorry.
Go ahead.
Episode 3 for me was still the best episode. In a way, it was almost the best feel-good episode of the lot. Episode 5 was like sorry for the old going on here, but people were complaining that there's not enough zombies. But sometimes when you hold things back and then you let it loose, like you did in this episode, it hits a lot harder. It hits so much more harder. You don't give it to us every drips and drabs of every episode of them coming out of some sort of mini sort of zombie crisis. Give it to us in drips and drabs, so when it matters, it's on screen. It impacts you more, and it was done so well today.
Well, and that's what I've been telling people that I've talked about at like my work and stuff like that, like about this show. It's like they're like, oh, it's just another zombie show, and I'm like, no, it's not another zombie show. Actually, the zombies are more of a backdrop, and they're not in it as much. It's more about like a post-apocalyptic, how shitty human beings are. Like, I honestly feel like the zombies are kind of a backdrop, and they're not even the main focus. They're the reason for the post-apocalyptic, but they're not really that, like, they're not looming. It's actually shitty human beings looming over shitty human beings. So I agree with Zam completely in this sense. Like, I understand if you're like watching a superhero show, you want to see them do super heroics every episode, but it's like with this, it's like, yeah, no, you don't. That's not the point. Zombies are not the point, in my opinion. So,
I am going to go ahead and give it chef's kiss. That's how epic this episode was. I can't wait to hear the naysayers complain about once again being introduced to 2 new characters that again die, as if the lost characters added nothing to the overall story. Yeah, you're going to have your doubters and people complain and bitch and kvetch because it's what they do. It's just how it is, but they don't know what they're talking about, in my view.
And honestly, I've never played the last one, but isn't it pretty accurate to the source material? Like, I've not actually seen the part with Sam and Henry, but it's like, I mean, they're honoring the source material. I mean, look, you have the Witcher that fucks it all up, and of course, you see what kind of a cluster that is, and then you have Last of Us that honors the source material, and it's like freaking amazing.
Yeah. Okay, so
for those, keep anyone happy, can you?
No, you can't satisfy everybody. It's just the way it is.
Everybody gets to yell as loud as they want, and it's just like, ugh.
Yep.
So for sure, Last of Us gets this.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
All I know is that Last of Us and
All right.
Extraordinary. It's going to be I feel like
We're going to be sitting and debating at the end of the year when we do our Golden Glasses 2023. We're going to be sitting debating what the show of the year is, and Last of Us will be in that conversation.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yep. But
It
okay.
all boils down to the numbers and the votes. But yeah.
Yep. For those of you that have not seen Last of Us or played the video game, I'm going to give you 5 seconds because there will be spoilers. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. All right. Last week, Joel and Ellie managed to get into this big building, and Joel sets the sound traps, and they are awakened at gunpoint by Henry and Sam. And then now we're going back in time to 11 days earlier when the rebels and Fedra all go at it in a big conflict, and Fedra ultimately ends up taking over Kansas City. What do you guys think about that opening scene with Fedra taking over Kansas City?
Was it Fedra?
No, it wasn't Fedra. It was it was the Resistance.
Yeah, the Resistance came in and took over.
Yeah, Fedra's aren't they the government people?
I think so. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe
they're kind of like the closest.
Yeah,
the closest thing to government.
Yeah, the rebellion came in and took over from Fedra. That's what I meant to say.
The fascist bastards.
Mm-hmm. But what do you guys think about that scene overall, with how it started out with just the fireworks and?
I mean, just the runtime of it. I was very happy that it didn't take. There wasn't. I mean, like it was. Not even maybe like a quarter of the episode, maybe like a fifth of the episode was dedicated to that. So all of that we saw more of the Doctor as well, how he was helping them out, and we saw some of like in the previous episode, when the Resistance was looking for them, we kind of saw in this episode the sort of markings they left behind, which we saw from the previous episode, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I mean, it's putting things together that makes sense, and that's good writing, good storytelling. So fair enough, and it didn't take too long doing it either.
No, the pacing was
where we wanted to be.
Yeah, the pacing was excellent in this episode. But yeah, okay, the high spirits and celebration amongst the rebels is
yeah. You talk about the end.
Yeah,
and the fucking bloater was the shaman. Yeah,
the high spirits and celebration among the rebels is hunting juxtaposed with the image of several Fedra members being tortured, slaughtered, hanged. Yes, they won back the city, but are they really better than the oppressors? Right and wrong in the gray area is something that lies in between The Last of Us that is very well explored in the video games and the TV show. And this is just one example. Yeah, like Cheeto was just saying, is there a right and wrong? Is there, a moral compass? Is there a gray area? And that's what this episode really brings out. It's like, who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy? That's what we don't know.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Fedra's shitty, but also... I mean, the Resistance is shitty too, and I understand like them getting their freedom is one thing, but then the way that they were treating prisoners of war and all that other stuff is just like, you're no better. The way that they were doing things, they're almost no better than Fedra. Like in the way that they handle things. Because they're basically being fascist now that they are in charge. The Resistance. So that's why I'm saying like shitty human beings versus shitty human beings, everybody loses. Like any innocent bystander loses.
Bless you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Zam.
Anything you want to add? Go ahead.
It's just that I might be jumping way ahead here. So like the person who was the leader of the Resistance was maybe that ideal person to be the leader. And we find out that Henry sold this person out so he can get medicine for his brother. And the person who ends up taking over, this Kathleen or Karen Allen, you know what I mean?
She looked like Kathleen Kennedy. She's coming for Star Wars.
She's actually the stalker girl from 2.5 Men. She's the one who's like all loved up over Charlie Sheen's character in 2.5 Men. Nevertheless, she ends up inheriting the position of leader because it's her brother who was the good guy leader initially, and she ends up making her own personal army to go after Henry and Sam when there's so many other things to do. And she's nothing like her brother either. And she ends up, taking a more iron fist approach in being a leader and offering people jail time, but then killing them and stuff like that. She really prostituted her position, so to speak. And it's a shame that she now ends up running the show when they're not. And as Cheeto said earlier, they're no longer any different to the people that they believe were oppressing them. They've become the oppressors now.
Yep.
So yeah. So,
all right.
anyway.
Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. As tanks roll through the city, people are barking orders, looking for any collaborators with Fedra to surrender themselves. And we finally meet Henry, played by Lamar Johnson, and Sam. I apologize if I butcher your name, Kevion Woodard. And we quickly learn that Sam is Henry's younger brother, and he's deaf, and he communicates through American Sign Language, which was a really nice touch, in my opinion. I like that they made him younger, and I like that they made him deaf. And I feel that it adds more. No. Oh, and he was, and
no.
Here's the heartbreaking thing too, as we get into it. In the video game, Sam is 13. Here in the show, he's 8. And that might not sound like a big deal to people, but 8 to 13 is a huge gap when you're a child. Like, you might not think that, but it's a big gap.
Henry, theoretically, is not even the big brother. He's the father. You know what I mean? You can see he's playing the father role more than the big brother role.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to Henry, all the sort of things you would see a father do, he's having to do it as the big brother. And
when you see that a lot in even modern day, like even pre-apocalyptic like world in America and everything, like you got older kids raising younger kids because their parents are pieces of shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like or they're orphans, or you know,
or that 20 kids and counting shit. Mm-hmm. Where they have so many kids that they end up using the elder kids as babysitters, which is not what you should be doing as a parent. Because if you want to fucking have a kid, then you as the parent be the parent. Don't let your fucking older son parent your fucking younger son. That's not how it's supposed to work.
Yeah. Agreed. Yep. Daniel Vance says that Woody Woodpecker scratch pad
made me feel old. Yep.
I've actually never seen one of those, but
I loved it. I mean, yeah, me too.
Mm-hmm.
But I when I saw Woody Woodpecker, I mean, I know who Woody Woodpecker is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, he's like the 80s version of Zam, but I mean,
I don't know. I love that notepad, by the way. I loved it. I thought it was a really good, nice little touch, you know, for that kid to communicate. Mm-hmm. And I love the fact that even though he's only 8 years old, he's able to write and read.
Yeah,
you know, which is in this world, considering he's born in the apocalypse, you know, you can tell the kid's very smart.
Mm-hmm.
I wondered. See, here's the thing. I wondered, and this is also jumping forward a little bit, but when they're reading the comic book together, I wondered why she was reading it to him. Like she wasn't signing it to him; she was just reading it to him. And I'm like,
maybe he can read lips, maybe,
but like he can't read, and I mean he can't hear, or I was wondering if he couldn't read, and I'm like, wait a minute, he can read.
Yeah, he can read.
But that's why it was so confusing. I'm like, why is she reading it to him? And I mean, maybe she's just doing it to pass the time. Maybe he just liked the vibrations of, because you know, even though you're deaf, you can still feel the vibrations of people's voices.
Yeah,
you know, if they're close enough to you, like, you know, your vestibular system will pick that up.
And you can feel the energy too. Yeah, you can feel the energy that a person
that's
brings.
What she was doing, just being, but like, I'm like, it was very confusing because I'm like, why is she reading that to him if he can read, and if he
the kids being kids, aren't they?
Yeah, really are.
Okay, so
watching Joel wrestle with what it means to be a rat, and his understanding of why Henry became one, and Henry considering himself a bad guy for simply doing a bad guy sin.
Again, it goes back to that moral compass thing. Yeah.
Also, I want to
keep his brother alive.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Cheeto.
I also want to point out, they said that he had leukemia, correct?
Yes.
And they said that, like, they had a cure for it or a treatment for it,
like a pill,
medicine, or like a pill or something he could take. Yeah.
But like, that's still not something that just goes away with a pill.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
I mean, maybe. Yeah. So I'm like, was it a cure or was it just a treatment? Or because I don't remember him taking any pills or even a pill in the episode. So that was a little off for me. I'm like, and this is 2003. So, well, when the world ended, it was in 2003. So it's not like there's like big pharmaceutical advancements after 2003. As Sam said before, like the world just kind of stopped in 2003 and like there's not much advancement.
Yeah, so that's an inconsistent plot hole, but they're not going to cover that. Maybe they will, maybe in a commentary, but
Yeah,
At the moment, I don't think they will.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Actually, the first person to bring. Actually, Jose, sorry, Cheeto, you're the first person to bring that up. I've been watching a few reviews of this. No one's brought this up until you have.
Yeah,
it absolutely makes a lot of sense, and this is where you have to give the show a lot of credit that people can look past that massive thing you mentioned.
It didn't. It didn't break
right.
the
You're
episode.
absolutely right.
Yeah, it didn't break the episode. I still say it was one of the best episodes, the best episode of Last of Us, in my opinion. You know, like as a Last of Us episode, like it's kind of like comparing the Mandalorian episodes, like the rest of Book of Boba Fett. Like they're not Book of Boba Fett episodes. They're Mandalorian episodes. Anyway, but yeah, I thought it was weird, and I heard that, and I'm like, wait a minute. So is there a cure, or is that a treatment, or what? Like something glossed over, but who knows?
And there's an inconsistency too. Like you would think for a kid, like you would think you would see him be a little frail and be a little weaker, and Henry has to assist Sam. Like I'm like, that's kind of what I was wondering. Of like, okay, if you've got leukemia, shouldn't you be a little frail? Shouldn't you need assistance to practically get around? That's kind of what I was wondering.
I mean, maybe it's early onset,
I don't know.
and you don't. Yeah. But how would they have identified it? How would there's just a lot of questions there. It's not like like the resources to identify leukemia and all that are just blatantly available.
Yep.
So, and I don't ever remember them mentioning, oh well, he's only got a couple years to live with this disease. I know I'm unpacking a whole clicker's head of stuff, but I mean, as it doesn't really matter. Keep going.
Yeah. Okay. So as I was saying, yeah, Sam communicates through ASL, or he communicates through the Woody Woodpecker drawing board. These two are on the run from Kathleen's army, and by how ruthlessly Kathleen was hunting Henry in the last episode, it's pretty damn clear that it wouldn't be a good idea that they get caught. So you get a sense of how bad the consequences would be if Kathleen gets her way. And Henry has to explain to Joel that this is what I am. I am a collaborator. I did bad guy shit. I did some crazy shit. And Joel's like, I don't work with rats. And he's like, well, today you fucking do. And that's just how it is. It's like, go ahead.
Can I just go back to the moment they met each other and how, like, you could tell Henry obviously wanted to work with Joel because he saw him, taking out those guys. And he realized this is the person we need to go into the tunnels and stuff. But when they actually finally met, and Henry's going, look, I'll put my guns down. Are we cool? And Joel's going, yeah, we're cool. Like that tone of voice, And I mean,
he's got an asshole voice.
Yeah, he's got a voice that he's gonna fuck me over. And I have to admit, that was probably the funniest part of the episode. Like he's got that grimace voice, and Henry doesn't believe him that he's gonna be cool and stuff like that. But
dude, and Ellie's yelling at him. She's like, Joel.
Yeah.
That was
yeah.
Yep.
It was very funny. Yeah.
Okay, so let's see.
Sorry.
Yep, because we're going all over the place, guys. This is what we do here at NerdTube. We just go off in tangents and that kind of shit. But basically,
that's what we should call ourselves.
Nerd tangents. Yeah, but basically, what the collaborator is they basically work for Fedra, but they look like regular, everyday people like you and me, and they spill neighbors' crimes. They're basically, finks, rats, stool pigeons.
Spies.
Yeah, spies. And knowing this is not that big of a shock that people are going to turn on one of their own to save their own asses. One of the collaborators tells Kathleen that Henry is hiding out with Edelstein, the man we saw Kathleen mercilessly kill in the last episode. Kathleen is like, thank you. You're all rats, though, by the way. You won't die, but you will be put on trials for your crimes. Then she extracts Perry to slaughter and burn their bodies because it's faster. So in this world, it's a dog-eat-dog world, and you do what you got to do to survive. It's fucked up, but this is the way the world works now. What do you guys think about that scene?
I mean, no, here's the thing. This is where it goes back to, like, she didn't have to kill him. She could have just exiled them from Kansas City. She could have been like, you guys leave, and if we see you back here, we shoot you on sight. Like, but you guys leave. You're gone. If you run into a horde of zombies, you're on your own.
Good luck. Yep.
Yeah, good luck getting into the next QZ. So I that's why I'm saying, like, these people are not, and as I said, these people, I don't know if they worked for Fedra or if they were just the spies for Fedra, but still, it's like you got fascists killing fascists around here, and I think honestly a lot of the spies were just innocent people trying to get like innocent people
You're
just
trying to get by.
Yeah, like I
Yep.
honestly feel like these people were actually the victims in this whole thing. I mean, you say, oh, we don't work with rats. It's like, no, I think in this situation, it's not a rat situation. It is a, these people are backed up against the wall and they had to do what they had to do. Maybe some of them are dickheads and they actually believed in the fascist beliefs, but I think the majority of those people look like people that were just kind of stuck in the middle, and they were like, we need, we can't survive.
Mm-hmm. I can't believe that people were body shaming Melody, Linsky, Kathleen for being too fat in the lime in a time of scarcity. Shit, humans never cease to amaze me with their takeaways. Yeah, people will complain about anything. Yeah, people will bitch about whatever. It doesn't even matter to me.
Yeah, that's bullshit. Like they can suck a bag of dicks for all I care.
Okay, so as for why Kathleen is so hell bent on finding Henry specifically, that we will be getting into here in a little bit. And people
sorry, just regarding their fat shaming. I mean, they're too stupid to realize that she inherited her position. So she could have been the fattest fucking bitch on the planet. She inherited her position. She didn't get it because she was fucking a great person in the first place. It was her brother who was the leader, and she got that position through nepotism. So that's how she ended up being the leader. But people are too stupid to realize that.
She never struck me as like this hard ass combat general. Like somebody who could like take care of herself in a fight. You know what I mean? Like even later on in the episode, we saw that when what's his nuts, who took on the bloater, he basically said run and don't look back, because he knew she was not she could point a gun and shoot, but she's not like a combat person. She can't deal with a horde of zombies.
Yeah, she's not a militant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what Daniel Vance says, she was the brains. Like she was the brain. She had her brawn to do the heavy lifting for, and she was merciless. That's the one thing that I saw out of this, that she was merciless. That sometimes a leader is, and I'm not even talking about a good leader. I'm talking about a leader, whether it be fascist leaders or just whatever. The mercilessness is what kind of makes them stand out. It's not the fact that they can like fight or they can shoot multiple weapons. You give them a knife and they just survive.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now back to Henry and Sam. The two have finally reached their semi-safe house in an attic where they'll hide out for about 10 to 11 days. The plan is to get out of Kansas City using the underground tunnels. It's during this sequence that you get to see the relationship between Henry and Sam, and how Henry will do whatever he can to protect Sam. And there's a scene where they get a bag of crayons and then they draw, superheroes on the wall, because it's the closest that Sam will get to being a kid, at least for the time being. And then 10 days later, as expected, the food runs out. Edelstein dies, getting killed by Kathleen and captured. And then Henry's like, all right, we got to get the fuck out of here. They stumble upon Joel and Ellie in the middle of the shootout, which happened in the last episode. Now we're back to where we currently are. And it's that scene of when it's like, okay, yeah, you need to if I lower my gun, I'm not going to hurt you. Are we cool? And then he's like, yeah, this is great. And he's like, Joel has an asshole voice. That was very, very funny to me. I love that scene.
I think you've already gone about this. I think you've gone back a bit too far.
Oh, no. Did I miss something?
You mentioned it. Yeah, you've gone back a bit, Jose. We were talking about the tunnels earlier on and him being a collaborator.
Oh, okay, yeah. This article's all over the place with the way it's Yahoo, so I don't know if they.
Well, one thing, what I have noticed about these resistance people, and like I said, they're supposed to be the good guys. They kill kids, and they kill kids not because we're bad guys, we kill kids. They kill kids because kids are a burden to them, and this is the sad thing, because kids are supposed to be the future. They're supposed to keep the human race going. If you kill kids, then there is no future.
Yeah, there's nothing left.
Yeah. And then when you see them in the tunnels afterwards, and then they're going underground, you see this sort of school, like this sort of creche, so to speak, for children, because the children had to be kept underground, so people like Kathleen wouldn't kill them.
Yep.
It's really sad, and you don't even know what the fuck happened to them. Probably turned into zombies, but still, it's sad.
It was implied that well, and I watched a review, or not a review. Actually, I think DH, it's the thing you sent me from Mojo, I think, or something. Yeah. It's kind of implied that one of the kid that crawls in the van, the kid clicker that crawls in the van is probably one of the kids from underneath from that school underneath.
Yep.
Yeah, that is pretty much what was implied there.
Mm-hmm. They broke around, fucked around, and found out. That's pretty much what happened.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
so basically, yeah, like they go over the plan, and Joel's like, yeah, I don't work with rats and all this kind of shit. And then it's like, this is how we got to get the fuck out of here. We got to use all these tunnels and all this shit to get out. And Henry is like, here's the deal. Here's what I thought was a nice touch. In the video game, Henry will fight, shoot, and kill anybody he absolutely has to protect his brother. Here, Henry ain't doing any of that shit. He's like, here's the deal. You got to kill. You got to clear the way out. I tell you where to go. You just do it. And that was a nice touch. I also thought that I saw that in Mojo where it was like, oh, yeah, Henry didn't fight. He didn't kill anybody. He's a pacifist. He just goes through and tries to get the hell out of there.
Yeah, I mean, I think the change made sense because that's why they needed Joel. Like, like it would have made no sense if like he was okay at killing and doing all this other stuff. And then like, well, then why is, I mean, I guess you could say safety in numbers, with the 4 of them rather than the 2 of them. But it's like, I think that change made sense just because it made a necessity for them to have Joel with them.
Yep. Yeah. It added more to the show. Yeah, for sure. And then here we go. The 4 of them make their way into the tunnels where they stumble upon an abandoned classroom. And this is another nod to the video game. For those of you that watch Mojo, look up the things you might have missed. And then they come across the Savage Starlight comic books, which is the title of this episode, and Dare Survive. And Ellie and Sam finally get to be kids, even if it's just for, 5-10 minutes while the guys catch their breath. They play some soccer, and Henry tells Joel exactly why Kathleen is so hell-bent on finding and killing him. He got her brother killed. He didn't do it to be malicious. He did it to save Sam. So, okay, Henry did kill, but it's not that he wanted to. It's that he had to, and Sam got sick with leukemia, and the only way Henry could get the medicine he needed to treat was to tip off Fedra on something big. So he gave him the whereabouts of Kathleen's brother Michael, the leader of the resistance movement in Kansas City. And that is where the plot hole comes in of, okay, he's got leukemia, but how much medicine, what kind of medicine, that never gets explained. The beans they were eating are real beans from a company that went out of business over a decade ago. So just like the Chef Boyardee, they're eating very old food. Very authentic.
I mean, but do you mean a business that went out of business over a decade ago from 2003 or from 2023? Because that business probably went out of that company probably went out of business 20 years ago when
like every other business.
Yeah, like every other business, like so I'm like, are you talking about it went out of business 10 years prior to 2003, or are you talking about like in modern day, like for like in real life that company went out of business 10 years ago? Like just clarification on that one.
I think he means,
they're eating really old food.
I think he meant in real life it went out 10 years ago, but obviously as the apocalypse started in 2003, they were still being in business.
Yeah.
So
after
but every business went out of business in 2003.
Everything went out.
Just to go back to episode 3, I mean, you remember that moment where Frank sees Bill's piano and goes, "Do you know how much that's worth?" And Bill goes, "Well, nothing now."
Yeah, nothing now, because
everyone, like money means in an apocalypse, money's useless.
Yeah, because money's no fucking object.
All right, so he says they went out of business in the 1990s, so a decade prior to 200003. So yeah, that's pretty old.
Very old. Yeah,
like 2000. That's 2000. Yeah, they're in 2023 right now. So oof.
Yeah, that's vintage.
Yep.
After beans, though, beans are beans. Beans are they last for a long time.
Yep. After finding out this vital information, the story checks back in on Kathleen, who is now in her childhood bedroom. And here's another detail too. If you guys notice on the map, it points out South America, where all this bullshit started. That was a nice touch that they added to this episode.
Well, did it start? I mean, I know I know it said in the games it started in South America.
Yep, but yeah,
didn't it start in Asia in the show, like
Indonesia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, she.
Two, I think.
Yep.
I think it's a callback to the games. Maybe that's
It is a callback to the game. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a
Well,
callback to the video
that's
game.
what I thought, but I'm like, wait a minute. I thought it was Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so she tells the story, her side of Henry's story. She talks about her brother and her memories with him, both grown up and as children. He wouldn't want her on the revenge path and how he told her to forgive Henry, but she has to get justice. She's like, you know what? Fuck that. I got to do what I got to do. It's kill or be killed, that kind of thing. And Linsky absolutely killed it in this monologue. I thought this was her moment of everything that stands out. And now Joel, Ellie, Henry, and Sam have made their way out of the tunnel and are headed toward the suburbs. And this was a nice touch too, because in the video game, the sniper and all this shit takes place during the day. I love that they did this at night. It made it that much creepier and that much freakier. I love that they had this scene take place at night with the sniper and all the stuff that's about to happen.
Well, I found out about Henry. He's a bit, for somebody who's been chased by everyone all the time and he's in hiding, he's a bit too optimistic. I mean, when they go into the tunnels, he thought everything was hunky dory, and I'm surprised they never came across at least one zombie of any sort in the tunnel.
They didn't even come across any
really.
remnants. Like they didn't even come across.
We were told, not even the remnants. Yeah, not even the remnants of one. But we were told earlier on that that what Kathleen did, or that faction was 15 years ago. They managed to put all the zombies underground.
Yeah, I think they said they cleared them out 3 years ago as of this episode. Like I think it's so. Listen, the doctor said that the last time he checked 3 years ago, there was nothing going on there. Oh, that's right. Okay.
But
yeah.
But when they're underground, I'm surprised we never got anything. But then obviously when they're above ground and they're before the sniper starts shooting at them, once again Henry's a bit too optimistic. I mean, for fuck's sake, you've got to keep quiet. You've got to stay low. You can't fucking start talking loudly and shit. You make yourself a target. And they did. Luckily, they're the stormtrooper for a sniper. So everything was hunky dory.
And here's a nice touch too. Like in the Mojo video, they actually say in the game, like Ellie took out a couple of infected. Here she actually did, but we're coming up to that part. So basically what happens is Joel goes around to try to flank the sniper. He gets to the sniper, and then here comes Kathleen and them. And this right here, in terms of action, I don't give a shit what anyone says. I know we still have a few episodes to go. This right here is peak Last of Us in terms of action, infected, zombies, all that shit. It's basically the equivalent of Hell Comes to Earth. I thought this was fucking fantastic. When Joel takes out the truck, smashes into the house, shit catches on fire, and the scene where Kathleen is like, all right, come out, Henry, with your hands up. Henry's pleading, like, no, let the kids go.
Sorry,
go ahead.
Sorry, Jose. Just before that, like when he took out the sniper, I think he was a bit too lenient with the sniper, by offering him a chance to walk or not shoot or anything. But
I don't think so. I actually disagree. While I was watching this, it kind of does show a little bit of Joel's how he's kind of softening up a bit, where he's like, I mean, like if that was like a younger guy, like if that was kind of like a guy who, but he was an older guy, he's like, don't do it. Like, and he's like, and I don't think he had any bones about killing him, but I think he would have let him walk, if he walked away.
This is the thing, Cheeto, because this is where some people are saying that Pedro Pascal's Joel is different to Joel from the video games. Joel from the video games is a lot more ruthless.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't think twice about killing that dude. To a degree, as much as you might love Ellie as a surrogate daughter and all of that. If somebody's going to harm you or harm your kid, you're going to fucking kill them. And I think what they're trying to do to a degree, they're trying to make Joel likable on the TV shows. And so they're making him, more relatable and maybe a bit more humane. I personally think he should just kill that motherfucker.
Yeah, he should have just died right. Opinion. He could have died right there, but they did what they did.
Well, for someone who has not played the video games or anything, I honestly feel like it was a good choice to do it that way. And I'm not saying because I want Joel to be likable. I'm just saying like it was honestly more. I mean, and honestly, he didn't know that he was working with Kathleen until after he was dead. You know what I mean? Like he could have just been some guy thinking he was defending his home. And I think that's what played into that part, was that he didn't know that he was with Kathleen until after the guy was dead. And then Kathleen was on the radio saying, "Oh, keep him there. We're going to be there soon." Like now, if all of a sudden, like while they were in that standoff and Kathleen came over the radio and said, "Hey, they'll keep him there. We're going to be there." Then he should have shot. Like then he
should have died right there. Yeah.
Well, but no, I think that this was played out much better.
At the same time, he shot first. I mean, they were just walking along. He had no idea that they were coming towards him. He never even, so.
But he probably, like, he's old. He probably thought it was an infected heading his way. It's not like they screamed, "Hey, we're not infected."
Yeah.
He's got a scope. Yeah.
But okay, so because there's too much shit here, I'm just going to say all fucking hell breaks loose. The convoy fucking thing sinks into the ground. And here come, like, hell on earth, a fuck ton of infected motherfuckers. And the way they debuted the bloater, best fucking debut they've ever done for, like, a zombie fucking character thing.
It was even in the trailer. Like, it was in the trailer, and I still had that dread.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit, it's a bloater. Here he is. I popped. I was like, oh my God, it's a bloater. It was just, dude, the way they did this, perfect. That's what gets the chef kiss in this entire episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
fast zombies are scary as fuck. I mean, in Walking Dead, you can walk away from them, no problem.
Yep.
These ones, they are running at you. It's full speed. They are fast. Like it reminded me of World War Z and 28 Days Later and all those zombies. Scary as fuck, man. Scary as fuck.
The more flooded out of that sinkhole inside the city in response to everything when it all went down. That whole city is so screwed. Yep. That whole city is fucked.
Well, that's what I thought was crazy, because I thought that this whole thing was going to go down in the bottom of that building. Like that building was going to collapse, and then all these zombies were going to come out in the city.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it to until that truck started sinking. I didn't expect that, like, this to happen here, because I thought it was all going to happen in the city, and that was going to be their distraction to get out. So I was, that's why I was like, when all of a sudden they started flooding out of the bottom of that house, I was like, oh shit, this is happening here.
Yep. And I like the fact that they didn't rush the bloater. I like the fact that they built it up where it was like, okay, here comes a swarm of infected, and then out of nowhere, here he is. And basically what happens is what the fuck is his name? I can never remember his damn name. Perry is like, here's the deal. When I say run, run. Don't look back. Because he knew it was over. He knew. He was like, you need to run. You need to haul ass and get the fuck out of here. And she started running, and the bloater went full on Sub-Zero, Mortal Kombat. I'm taking your head clean off. Ripped his fucking head straight off. I thought that was amazing. Man, that was amazing.
A little bit of Juggernaut as well from X-Men, like running at you, unstoppable freight train and stuff like that. And his whole body is just one giant piece of armor. My only gripe is that we didn't see enough of the bloaterness. Like I heard he throws acid bombs at you and stuff.
He does. Yeah, he does.
But they haven't really. I've read about that, but they haven't really done and they're like spore bombs and stuff like that in the game.
Yeah. Yeah,
like, I don't think they're going down that avenue. Now maybe they will towards the end of the series, but like I don't think.
He'll be back. Yeah, they'll have another bloater. You'll get to see if they don't do it where the bloater throws shit at you. Yeah, then it's like okay, but they still got at least one more bloater that shows up. The child clicker scared me more than the bloater. Yeah, at least with the bloater, when it's over, it's over. But basically, what happens is the bloater rises from the ashes. Perry sacrifices himself so that Kathleen can find cover. Ellie shows off her badass side by stabbing two of these motherfuckers to death, saving Henry and Sam. And just when you think, go ahead.
Prior to that, sorry, Jose. Prior to that, like Ellie was trying to escape the horde by hiding in the car, and then we get that child clicker coming in there, and the way she was moving, like twisting and turning, kind of reminded me a bit of Silent Hill and stuff like that. Now, the girl who played her apparently is the same girl who played Megan in that Megan movie with the robot Megan.
Okay.
I know of it. I haven't seen it yet.
But she's very good at like contorting her body. She's a child actress, and she's very good at contorting her body and twisting and turning. She's like a ballet dancer in that sense, you know. So you can see that sort of move she was in. She was the same. I believe she might have been the same girl in this, and you can see the sort of move she was portraying. It was fantastic. You know what I mean? It was creepy and elegant at the same time. It was really good. I loved it, and she ended up killing Kathleen. Yeah.
We saw the room,
and the right thing to do because Kathleen is a child killer.
Yeah,
that a child actually ended up killing her. So
the irony.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We saw the remnants of a spore bomb in episode 2 when they went into the old tunnel to get the battery. Okay, so they've done it. They just haven't actually showed the spore bomb being a thing yet. So, okay, so that will happen. And just when you think the group is able to get away, Kathleen stops them, but her revenge is never really realized because the child infected ends up just ripping her ass apart. And then Joel's like, get the fuck out of there right now. And then just when you think, they got a moment of peace, it gets worse because Sam and Ellie have that particularly heartbreaking conversation while reading the comic book, and they go over their fears, and Ellie's like, here's the deal. I'm afraid of scorpions, and I'm ultimately afraid of ending up alone. And the heartbreaking scene is Sam asks, when you get infected, is the monster inside you, or are you still you as a person? And then what broke me was Sam showing Ellie the scar, because it was like, oh, shit, you knew shit was going down. And I thought that so far for me, next to Frank and Bill, this was the most heartbreaking scene in the series to me.
Side note, Zam Powerline is bored, so I mean, you want to take your pants off and.
I'm playing with my big fat birds for him.
Kathleen's single-minded mission killed her, much like Joel's mission to keep Ellie alive will kill him. Yeah, that's true. All right, so they have that Go ahead.
So just like you could tell the naivety
What's up, Jim?
Of
Nerk Tuber.
Hello there, Jim. You could tell of Ellie being a child who doesn't really know any better, thinking that she could just cut her hand and put her blood on his blood and that's going to cure him. And it doesn't work like that. And I'm really happy it didn't work like that because what happened when after that was depressing, and that's the show for you in a nutshell,
Mm-hmm.
The Jose's
floor is a cat toy.
Yeah, it is a cat. It is a cat toy on my floor. Yes. Yep. Just stare at it. Yep.
This last scene here. I mean, I had to watch it 3 or 4 times just to kind of I knew what happened, but I rewound it 3 or 4 times, and I'm just like, I could not. But as I said, I don't know the games.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm not.
It just fucked you up. It was like, dude. Really,
and I knew it because. But I didn't expect because. For some reason, that next morning when Ellie woke up, and he was just sitting there, and I'm like, oh
you knew. Yep, you knew.
Work?
Yep.
I'm like, oh my god, did it actually work?
Mm-hmm.
Not thinking he's deaf. So of course, when she said something, he can't hear it. Even I mean, maybe eventually he can hear something with the spores or something. I don't know. Maybe he'll always be deaf, even as a zombie. But and then when she walked over, put her hand on his shoulder, and he did. I was like, oh no! And so that whole thing went down.
I saw it coming.
Yeah, I saw it coming.
I saw it
but
coming.
for you haven't played the video game. So for you, it's going to be one of those things where when you see it, it's fresh to you for the first time. But basically what happened is the next morning, after Ellie tells Sam that she'll stay awake with him, she falls asleep. They wake up the next day. He's unfortunately turned. Sam attacks Ellie, and Henry's like, nope, nope, nope. And then Ellie is heartbreakingly screaming for Joel. Henry makes the most difficult choice to actually shoot and kill his own brother. And what broke me is the fact that they made Henry an 8-year-old child. That is what killed me. That was the most heartbreaking thing about this entire episode. And then what happens is after Henry shoots and kills his own brother, Henry turns a gun on himself, and they end up burying Henry and Sam. And you start to see Ellie struggle with that survivor guilt, like it should have been me. Like she had that look on her face, she had that demeanor in her voice, she had that tone and that mannerism of it should have been me. And then she's like, "Which way is west?" And Joel's like, "We go this way." And then she's like, "Let's go." And the two head off. And the most heartbreaking shot is the sketch pad and the saying, "I'm sorry." Um, and that broke me. I am not ashamed to tell you, I cried when I saw that scene.
I liked about seeing regarding how sad it was obviously Henry having to kill his younger brother. I mean, he did it really quickly. By the way, he wasn't even hesitating too much.
Mm-hmm.
He just shot him.
He made that. I disagree with that. I think he didn't.
No, not too much. I never said not hesitating at all. Not too much. He initially shot at Joel, and then he looked at at his brother, and then shot him. And
honestly, he didn't. Then, I don't even think he looked all that much. I think he just reacted where he was like, okay, either Joel's gonna kill him or I. And I think it was more of a mercy killing.
Yeah, like, me or him.
But once the deed was done, like his whole purpose was to be his brother's protector, to be that surrogate father to his brother.
Mm-hmm.
And he's lost all his purpose. He had nothing to live for after that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. He failed, and he couldn't handle it any longer. He couldn't handle it anymore. Just there and then, like I can't live anymore. It was like losing his. It's like killing his own son.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Killing his brother. It really was, and and
Lamar Johnson did an absolutely brilliant job. Yeah, he definitely did. But that's and you could just see the final shot with Joel's face just having that look, because like he said in last week's episode, you're a kid, you shouldn't have to go through this type of shit. But like Zam said also last week, this is the world we live in now, where kids can't really be kids. You have to grow up faster than you would have liked. But that's the episode, and I am going to go ahead and go first with my final rating. This easily gets a 10. In terms of peak Last of Us, this is the episode to watch. It really is. It's one of the best episodes I think I've ever seen for a show. It gets a 10. Cheeto?
10. As I said, I mean, it's hard pressed to not put this one right up there with episode 3. The only thing is that in a vacuum, like as you said, and as we said earlier, like episode 3 is like one of the most phenomenal pieces of television that's been out there in recent years. So episode 3 is kind of its own thing.
Yeah.
But it still deserves a 10.
But for Last of Us standards, this is something different.
Yeah. Like comparing this episode to like all like episodes overall of like across all mediums.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably give it a 9 or an 8 even. But for Last of Us, I would say this is peak Last of Us. And I agree with you guys. Like I haven't played the games, but I still, know video game, mannerisms.
Yep.
And they do a great job at honoring that. I can tell when it's happening.
And here's how good it is. Like I've got a friend on Facebook. She is so like in love with this show that she's like, I'm actually getting a PS4 for the purpose just to play the video game. That's how good the show is to her. She's like, it's so good that I got to get a PS4 just to play this game. That's how epic it is.
I think Zam? You've got a decent PC, but all right. I'm giving. I'll be honest with you. This is a hard one for me because
it is.
Because I gave episode 3 a 10,
and
I still think episode 3 is the better episode. But at the same time, as I said earlier, this episode had humor, it had drama, it had tragedy, it had action. It had like a great way to remind you about the zombies, all of that. Brought in the bloater. Yeah, I'll give it a 10. I give it a 10. It's back on form. As I said earlier, and we gave episode 4 a 7 out of 10.
Yeah,
that was the setup, and my God, did it pay off in this episode? Now I do believe we're going to get maybe something a repeat sort of formula, so to speak, with episode 6 is going to be more of a setup episode again.
Yep. Next week is going to be the episode where Joel and Tommy finally reunite after a certain amount of time, and Joel tries to talk Ellie into like, okay, we got to stay. They got to fight the raids of bandits and infected and all that bullshit. But yeah, it's going to be another come down episode, and then the following episode is when you're going to see peak execution. That's going to be the formula. And I think this episode 3, 5, and possibly 7 and 9 are going to be the penultimate episodes to watch. Those are going to be the episodes that'll make you go, holy shit, okay, these are the ones to watch.
Episodes? That was going to be my next question. There's 10 episodes, right?
9.
It's 9.
9? Okay.
9.
So, they're kind of going with the Andor format, just on a smaller scale. Like, they're doing, like with Andor, it was 2 build-up episodes and then an epic payoff. 2 more episodes and then an epic payoff. Like, with this series, looks like you have 1 episode of setup, 1 episode of payoff, 1 episode of build-up, 1 episode of payoff. So, it looks like we're probably going to get the Star Trek conundrum where it's like every other episode is going to be like the best episode, and like the one before that, like, and then the opposite ones are going to be just the build-up, which you got to have good build-up to have good payoffs.
Yep.
So,
and I'm going to be
too.
And I'm going to be an ass because what we're going to do at the very, very end of this, we're going to pick what our best episode is. That's what we're going to do. Yep.
It's just episode 3. Like, you
can't,
like, I'm sorry.
You can't,
top that.
Yeah. But we're going to rank, I think.
Then you might have a little bit of a fight on your hands.
Yeah. But I think we're going to rank them. I think we're going to talk about like our favorite episodes at the end.
I just want to also add regarding what Cheeto said regarding payoff and setup and payoff. This is like where binging and weekly come loggerheads, because if you're binging a series, you don't mind setup episodes because you can watch the next episode straight away and get the payoff. But having a weekly show like this, where you have a setup episode, then to wait a whole fucking week, or luckily for us, we only had to wait a few days. But still, having a payoff episode the following week is not as nice. I mean, at least with Andor, we got 3 episodes which gave us the payoff straight away.
Mm-hmm.
But this is my issue.
That was only in episodes 1, 2, and 3, though. Like the rest of them were weekly.
Yeah, they were. But for instance, like the Bad Batch, they gave us episodes 7 and 8 together, and I'm so happy they did, because episode 7 was the setup episode, and episode 8 was the payoff. And it needed to be there because episode 7 was really shit. There was no Bad Batch in it. You had one sort of like non-reoccurring bad guy in episode 7, and he was the only remnants of the Bad Batch. It almost felt like a Clone Wars episode. And then boom, the Bad Batch were back in episode 8, and then everything kind of made sense because they paid off what happened in episode 7. So sometimes I think maybe 2 episodes a week would be a lot better, in my opinion.
I don't think so. I think people just need to learn to be patient. I think
you
need to recognize.
I guess
the fact that it is a build-up episode, and then the payoff is coming. Like, I'm sorry, like,
I guess.
Because if you do 2 episodes at a time, then Jose's frozen. Okay. Yeah, we're losing.
Frozen in time.
Yeah, we can hear you, but you're frozen.
Huh. Okay. Weird.
He's back.
Okay. Anyway, but like either that or but here's the thing. I understand a company doing it weekly because it's like you put all of this money into the show. You want it to kind of have a weekly impact, and bring people back every week. So I'm sorry. Like if you want 2 episodes a week, then I would release it every other week.
Yep. I would stretch it out.
Like, I would stretch it. Like, not saying like stretch it out where it's like not like, as I said, I feel like 1 episode of build up, 1 episode of payoff is good. Like, I mean, Andor sometimes, like the prison episodes, those 2 episodes of build up, I felt could have been 1 episode. And then the payoff was, the jailbreak episode, which was phenomenal. But still, like, you don't want to stretch it out too much. And I feel like the every other episode format here is actually working rather well, because let's be real. I think episode 2 was probably a build up to episode 3. Like, if you look at the way things kind of played out, like episode 3, because the payoff is Joel and Ellie getting to their house and then getting to that point. And then the whole point of the beginning of, most of episode 3 was where they were heading, because, Joel and Ellie, Joel knew where they were going. Ellie did not.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if I would call episode 2
a build-up episode.
Episode 2 a setup.
I would say it was a setup for
clickers
episode
made
3.
it. Those clickers were enough to, if it was a setup, having those clickers and a lot of those zombies in there made it didn't make it necessarily feel like one. I thought episode 3 was more of a setup with them having to get to the car and stuff like that. And I mean, really, that's all they got out of it was the car and some more guns, which they fucking left behind for some reason.
So you're saying episode 3 and 4 are build up for 5?
That could be a good way of looking at it too.
Well, episode 3 was not really a Joel and Ellie episode. It had a little bit in them. I mean, they were the bookends.
Mm-hmm.
It was more
that's what I meant. That's why I said episode 2 and 3 were kind of build up for.
But I wouldn't call episode 2 necessarily a build up episode because it had the payoff. If anything, it was more of a payoff. Like they escaped Boston, and we had the massive explosions at the end and the clickers and stuff like that, and the loss of Tess. There was a lot that paid off on that episode, if you know what I mean. They did it all in one episode. Sometimes you can do setup and payoff in one episode. I mean, episode 4 was a short episode as well. People forget that, only 45 minutes. This was an hour long, so it gave us everything we needed. So we'll see what happens next week anyway.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to the 19th. I unfortunately am not going to be here to review the 19th, but I will be back the 26th to review it and give my thoughts on the previous week's episode. So it'll be you guys and Boss Man taking over for me. But if anyone has anything to plug before I sign off, now would be the time. If you guys got anything you want to bring up, feels like an old water cooler show. Yeah, everyone seems to be talking about it the next day. I think the same thing.
There will be more fan films from the tube to come out. Unfortunately, because of this episode coming out early, there won't be an episode on Monday for us to review. It will be the following Monday.
But I think what I'm going to do is we are probably going to have a Last of Us fan film that we are going to be talking about. So I'm going to try to push, because we're going to be recording that today, and I'm going to try to push it out so we get it out on Monday, maybe even Tuesday, just because there's no Quantum Leap either, right?
There's no Quantum Leap as well, but you might as well put it on Monday.
Yeah,
I say that's our typical Last of Us day. So
that's our typical Last of Us day. So you could put it here, and then like I said, I won't be around the 19th, but I will be back the 26th. So but I am DLZ101. With me is Cheeto and Zam. Thank you guys very much for joining me. We are NerdTube, the greatest YouTube channel you've actually kind of sort of heard of, and we will see you guys next week. Endure and survive. Bye bye.
Bye bye.